So I'm going to be chatting through what is a limiting belief and why is it ruining my success. What is a limiting belief and why is it ruining my success? And I'm going to be diving into what a limiting belief is and what you can use and implement into your coaching sessions or for yourself if you've identified that you may have a limiting belief and it's sabotaging everything and sabotaging your efforts. So this is a topic that I actually discussed on our session this week for our NLP students. And I thought that it would also be super, super valuable to talk about this today as well. So as always, I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer, and breakthrough coaching trainer. And I'm live on Instagram at the same time as Facebook. So if I'm not looking in your direction, don't think I'm being rude. That is the reason why. So I'm going to be diving into what is a limiting belief and why is it ruining my success. So when we work on ourselves and with our clients in a coaching relationship, the most common thing that we'll work on are limiting beliefs. So a limiting belief, or even you may hear about it, or you may hear me refer to it as a limiting decision, is something that we tell ourselves or something that we say to ourselves, and possibly something that we say to other people as well, that stops us from achieving something that we want in our lives. Okay? So it could be some self-talk, it could be a conversation that we have with somebody, it could be unconscious, right? But we act in accordance with our belief and it stops us from achieving something that we want in our lives, right? So it could be a goal, or it could just be our day-to-day life. It could just stop us from doing things in our day-to-day lives. And essentially what it's doing is it affects the quality of our lives. Because when we have a limiting belief, we act in accordance with that limiting belief, and then it affects our lives and it affects the quality of our lives. So it can stop us from thinking things are possible for ourselves. And it can really limit our potential, right? It can really limit us from manifesting the things that we want in our lives and from attracting the things that we want in our lives. And what happens is when we have a limiting belief, we act in accordance with it, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. We act in accordance with our limiting beliefs, and that creates our lives, right? And that creates our outcomes in life. So we have limiting beliefs in all areas of our lives, in our personal lives, in our business, in our career, our family, and our relationships. So it's not just about goal setting and achieving goals and success in terms of business or career. This can manifest itself in every single area of your life. So it could be in relationships, it could be in love, it could be in communication. It doesn't, there is no set section of your life where a limiting belief may manifest itself. It could be that a limiting belief affects every area of your life, or it could be that you have specific limiting beliefs in certain areas of your lives. So for example, if you had a limiting belief around money, right? So for example, making money is hard. That was definitely one of my limiting beliefs in the past. That may affect your career, it may affect your business, but it also actually may also affect your relationships, right? Because it may cause you to have disagreements in your relationships or possibly even create arguments. You never know, right? So an example of this is last year, I kept telling myself that I didn't have time to run a launch, right? So I kept telling myself I didn't have time to run a sales campaign, this big sales campaign, which was a launch. And we had a lot going on at the time. So sometimes, these limiting beliefs may sound really plausible, right? Because the limiting belief that I had and that I kept telling myself was, I don't have time. I don't have time. So it sounded really plausible, right? It sounded like it made sense. So when I checked in with myself, I realized that actually it wasn't really invalid, and it was more of a reason I was giving myself as to why I wasn't getting a result in this outcome, rather than something that was plausible. I realized it was a reason and a story that I was telling myself. And so what I did was I worked on myself using all the tools and techniques that I teach my students, because I do that every single week. and I checked in with myself and I applied what I teach to myself and got rid of it. And then we ran a very, very successful sales campaign in November last year. So that was in November last year. And we've since ran another one that was very successful that we wouldn't have ran if I hadn't have ran that one in November, which led to, you know, a massive increase in students enrollments. So it was a very, very successful, very successful can't get my words out, very successful sales campaign. But if I'd have listened to the story I was telling myself, which was, I haven't got time to do this, then I wouldn't have done it, right? So let's have a think about how we can identify a limiting belief or a limiting decision. So you may hear me refer to this as a limiting belief or a limiting decision. We have to first decide that we have the belief. So that's basically what that means. So to give you another example of this, I remember when I was about 11, my mum used to tell me stories all the time about how when she, or if she won the lottery, what she'd be able to do if she was a millionaire, if she won the lottery. And she used to tell us stories about how if she won the lottery and became a millionaire, she'd build houses and do lots of amazing things with the money. And so I remember making a decision that I would become a millionaire myself, but I wouldn't put it to things outside of my control. I decided that I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30. I don't know where the 30 thing came from. And I remember deciding to have that belief. So that's something that I can really consciously remember deciding to believe in. We don't usually consciously remember creating beliefs. Often what happens is they're formed within our imprint period between the ages of 0 to 7, because between that imprint period kind of section between 0 and 7, we're like sponges and we're soaking up everything around us, everything our parents say, our teachers say, our caregivers, everyone around us, our siblings, everything, what we watch on TV, you know, what we listen to on the radio. We are like sponges soaking up all of that information, and that is creating our model of the world in our imprint period between the ages of 0 to 7. So a lot of our beliefs come from this age between the ages of 0 to 7, and then what happens is we kind of like carry them on our backs like a backpack for the rest of our lives without even being aware of it, right? And a lot of these beliefs can be limiting, especially things around money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money's not easy to come by. You can't just spend loads of money. You can't just, you know, all of these kinds of things that we may recall hearing when we were quite young in our childhood, that we carry around with us for the rest of our lives, that do not serve us. So I know for me, making money is a struggle used to be one of my limiting beliefs that I had to do a lot of work on. And that was formed within my imprint period between the ages of 0 to 7. So you can have beliefs that are empowering, and you can also have beliefs that are disempowering, okay, and that are limiting. So limiting beliefs. So how do you identify a limiting belief in yourself or others? Right, so if you are given reasons as to why you're not getting the results that you want in your life, that is a really good indication that you have a limiting belief or a limiting story. So you're given reasons as to why things are not the way that you want them to be, rather than just getting results. Okay, you tell yourself a story about why you haven't got what you want in life, rather than just taking action. Okay, so instead of just taking action, you're telling yourself a story about why you haven't yet got it. You are saying negative things to yourself about yourself, right? So perhaps you're quite judgmental towards yourself, about yourself, or perhaps you are just negative in general towards yourself. There's some negative self-talk. So this is a really good indication that there are some limiting beliefs or limiting stories that you have, and that you need to work on them. You blame things around you that are outside of your control for not being able to do the things that you want, right? And I know that this one can be difficult because, you know, naturally we want there to be a cause for us not having the things that we want in our lives. But we need to be the cause, right? We need to be the cause. We don't want to put that cause outside of ourselves, because when we do that, we're giving away our power. So we need to really be careful of this, because this can happen in so many different areas of our lives. And, you know, even recently for me, So a couple of months back, we started potty training our 2-year-old, and I kept telling myself this story about why now we've got a puppy and we're trying to potty train our 2-year-old, why it was really difficult, right? And I told myself this story for weeks, and it's a bit embarrassing now I say it, but it's true. And my little sister doesn't have her own children, and she was messaging me on WhatsApp, and I was replying to her on WhatsApp explaining about this challenge that I've got around potty training my 2-year-old, and now I've got the puppy, so it's really challenging. And then as I was writing it, I realised that I was telling myself this story about why it was so difficult, and I deleted the message and I just got on with it. And within 2 weeks, more or less 2 weeks, she was done and dusted, right? But we can have these limiting beliefs and limiting stories in all areas of our lives, okay? And this is a really good indication, and this is a really good example of, you blaming things out around you outside of your control for you not being able to have the things that you want. So in that case, I was blaming the puppy for things being difficult, right? Well, it was nothing to do with the puppy, really. It was just a limiting story that I was telling myself. Okay, so it's really important. Okay, so the most common limiting beliefs that I hear are I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of insert here, whatever it is in your story. Okay, now we may not consciously be aware of these, but what we do is we act in accordance with them, which creates either sabotaging behaviors or manifests itself in sabotaging behaviors, or in us taking action on things, or taking action that's not going to support us to get things, or not taking action at all, or procrastinating, or something like this. You may identify limiting beliefs that you're conscious of. So you may think, right, well, actually, I do know that I say things like I cannot make sales, or I'm not good at sales, or I don't know how to grow my business, or I don't know how to get clients. So these are examples of limiting beliefs that you may be consciously aware of. But if you look at them as a whole, you may think, well, actually, if I group these together, this really is coming from a belief of I'm not good enough. So maybe deep rooted, you have a belief of I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of having that, or I'm not worthy, and that is causing these other things. That's causing this self chatter, this negative self-talk, this limiting behaviours, or things like that. So usually these are all caused from deep-rooted limiting beliefs of I'm not good enough, or I am not worthy. And I always recommend working on these two bigger ones first, because then what will happen is if you work on I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, usually that then will knock out all these smaller ones of, for example, I cannot make sales, or I'm not good at sales, or I don't know how to make money, or I can't make money, or making money is a struggle, or things like this. So I always recommend working on I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. And then if others do present themselves, then work on them ones as well. Okay, so the techniques that I teach within my neuro-linguistic programming and breakthrough coaching training and in my other trainings, and that I recommend that you can use with these and to get rid of limiting beliefs, are timeline therapy. So I teach and certify timeline therapy, submodalities belief change. So I teach within our neuro-linguistic programming training, I teach a full technique that you can use with your clients and with yourselves. I also teach something which is a really quick belief change chat at the end of our grow model. So within our coaching section of our training, I teach you the grow model, and I teach you something at the end of there to really help if you've only got a 5-minute session or 5 minutes left of your session with your client, you can use that. And also there's lots of language patterns and conversational change that I teach within our NLP program to help with that. Also, what I teach and what I'm going to go through quickly with you is the 6 steps to unravel a belief. So if you've identified a limiting belief in yourself and you're consciously aware of it, this 6 steps to unravel a belief is really powerful to help you get rid of the limiting belief, or really just start to kind of take a step back and open yourself up to be more resourceful. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is the belief? What is the belief? The second thing you want to ask yourself is, why do I believe that? Why do I believe it? The third thing, what am I afraid will happen if I don't believe that? What am I afraid will happen if I don't believe that? Number 4, do I believe that? Right? Do I believe that? Number 5, whose belief is that? Whose belief is that? And number 6, what can I believe instead that will support me? What can I believe instead that will support me? So that's the 6 steps to unravel a belief. If I've gone a bit too fast for you there, this will be available on replay if you do want to get it. And I'm also going to do a write-up on the blog as well. That'll go out in the newsletter on Friday. So that's the 6 steps to unravel a belief that you can use straight away with yourselves and with your clients if you're working in a coaching relationship with your clients and you've identified a limiting belief. Okay, so that's it from me. I just wanted to really go through what is a limiting belief and why is it ruining my success. We went through what is a limiting belief, how to identify a limiting belief in yourself and others, the techniques that I teach you within our NLP and breakthrough coaching program, and also the 6 steps to unravel a belief. So this week we do have some free training called Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, if you want to check that out. If you're on Instagram, the link is in my profile, and if you're on Facebook, the link is in the notes. So I hope that was helpful for you. If it was a bit too fast at the end, just go back and watch the replay. If you've got any questions or you want to reach out and have a chat about our NLP practitioner program, do pop me a message. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch up with you all next week.